Okay, so today I thought that we would compare three libraries. So I've just bought the Cinestrings core because, well, they've just brought out this new update and they cleaned all the samples up and all the stuff I didn't like before. I now like. I thought that they were noisy, that they were a little bit all over the place. That the transitions and the coming into the note of a lot of the samples, that bleed in was a little bit messy sometimes. So yeah, I thought when I heard all the demos and the walkthroughs and whatnot that it was all fixed, and I wasn't wrong. so I thought, you know what? There's two other libraries that I use quite frequently together. Usually, so I'm not actually going to show you them together. I'm just going to show you them on their own. But I get asked a lot about them, and I thought, well, it'd be good just to take a little listen to the Cinestrings, then to the second one, which will be BBCSO core, because I don't believe in spending another £500 for extra mic positions, at least for 99% of your work, which I think is actually what Spitfire say as well. And the third one is Spitfire Studio Strings, which for me is my absolute workhorse. Usually I use the BBCSO as the foundation, and if not, if it's just say a little bit more of a basic mix, something I'm quickly getting out, I might use Albion strings. But yeah, I usually layer that on top for a little bit more detail, and also the dynamic layers in Studio Strings, there's just so much of them. It's just like you don't see it very often, not just from Spitfire, from anybody really. So yeah, that's my intro, and we'll take a little look and a little listen, and then I'll talk about what I think. Okay, so I'm just going to go through quickly the sounds of the patches and what I did to them. And it's just the CS and the BBCSO is fine. And the Spitfire strings, I'll just tell you what patches I used. Okay, so let's just open up Contact. You can see here, for the first one, I've just kept it as default essentially and pulled the speed down. On the legato, I've pulled out a little bit of the mids, and I'm using the surround mic instead. I just think the surround mic sounds much better. So for all of these, I've just used the surround mic. The velocity range as well, I think that's a really good feature for if you're on the go and maybe, you know, you don't have, let's just unplug this. Have something like this with a really big, what's called throw on your faders, then I think actually pulling down the volume range could just help you get the sound that you need a little bit easier just by playing it in. If you've just got small, like, you know, the nano faders that are only a bit like this, then that could work really well. For me, it's not really needed. But yeah, there's a lot of mids in these, so all of these, other than the cellos and the double basses where you want the mids, I'll pull that a little bit back, which actually accents the high end a little bit more, so I felt like I didn't have to put any in, which just gives it a little bit more of a softer sound anyway, I think. So yeah, that's everything I did there. I think the speeds of the legato as well are a little bit subdued sometimes, and sometimes they're coming a little bit quicker. So yeah, we'll just go over that and just take a screenshot if you want, or just pause this if you want to have a look at where all of these legato speeds are. You can see they're all slightly different. But then what that does is it gives a little bit more of a real sound to the performance. And then you can save these, and if you have a look at my other video where I talk about creating user patches, you can then take this and create a user patch. You don't have to worry about it anymore, exactly like I do. I worry about everything. Okay, right, so violin 1, you can see here, that's long harmonics. I've literally done nothing in here. It's all the same. I'm not even using the reverb. Spitfire studio strings, however, I had to use the flautando instead of a harmonics patch because it doesn't have one. The thing about this library is that it's great. It has all the bells and whistles, but it doesn't have a harmonics patch and it doesn't have a staccato patch. Two patches of which I use a lot. So that's really, really frustrating. But it's fantastic in almost every other way. It's very, very transparent though. So if you do something wrong, you're going to hear it. I think that's a really good thing, but we'll get back onto that in a minute. Okay, right. So that's everything I did there. Harmonically, I'm in G major, and I think it's just a 1, 6, 5, 4. I think it is for the majority, and then 4, 5, something. So we're keeping it simple harmonically. I'm not going to divulge too much more because I'm going to make this available for CS on my Patreon. So if you want to join my Patreon, it's down in the link. Thank you to everybody as well who supports me. It's been a tough time, and you're just great. You really are. If you've got BBSO, they don't make these easy to say. I just want to say that right now. So BBCSO, you'll get that one as well, and you'll also get Studio Strings. If you have those libraries, you can just pull them in and you can see what I've done automation wise and maybe learn from that. Okay, right, that's out of the way. Breathe. Okay, let's transition back over. Okay, so my general thoughts on CS. Wow. It's basically the sound that I've been looking for. Are there things that are missing? Yeah, of course. I cannot wait because I've already got their solo strings. So what I really want them to do now is to update that, get all the bugs out of that, because I put up with a lot of stuff in that, to be honest. And sometimes it can sound quite plasticky. And I think that's because what actually happens with it, that rosin sound that is just so prevalent, what they've actually taken back a lot of that rosin sound with this new update just makes it sound a little bit meh. So I can't wait until that comes. I think that I'll still use the solo strings, you know. I often use Tableau as well. I'm a big advocate for Tableau and performance samples. So yeah, check them out as well. I'm not affiliated with any of these. Yeah, it's a really well-rounded sound, and if you want that big cinematic studio Hollywood sound, I think this will get you there. I don't think it's so big that feels and sounds like a symphonic sound. I think it's somewhere halfway between a symphonic sound and a chamber sound. So I think it's a good compromise, and that means that it will probably blend well. I've not done it yet, so don't hold me to that. But yeah, it's great. So going over to the BBCSO strings, and again, another really, really good library. And these are not bad libraries at all. There are little imperfections, I think, in each of them, where if I would have spent a little bit more time, I would have been able to iron out those imperfections. And that's essentially when you're programming strings or you're programming anything, that's the thing that takes time. So you can play all of these parts in and you can like get it 90%, 99%, 95%, whatever that percentage is, and then going back later and finding out where it doesn't quite work. That's the bit that's always going to take time. In CS, in BBCSO, and especially in Spitfire Studio strings, because that is literally so transparent that you can hear everything. The other thing is the dynamic range in it is just so good. I think, I can't remember how many. It sounds like there's 5 anyway. 5 dynamic layers, and they just keep on going up, and you just hear it all, and it's just like as close as I've personally felt, at least, to live players. However, because it's so dry, it doesn't sound big. It sounds like a chamber. It sounds like a smaller ensemble that's just really close, like you're sat on top of the cellist's head or something. So that's something to consider, because I wouldn't necessarily use it when, just on its own, unless it was that just really intimate sound like it is here. And there was a reason why I chose to write something nice and soft and not quite as quick and attacky and whatnot, which is because I knew that all of these libraries do that well. I don't think that BBCSO does the higher dynamic stuff well. In fact, I don't think Spitfire generally do those higher dynamics. I think they just about hit a forte, and then you might have to start looking somewhere else. Unless you really exaggerate those dynamic layers so that you're doing the small things right down in pianissimo and then going straight up into that forte, and then use your volume to accentuate that. And I think that's what you need to do anyway when you're automating and you're programming anything, is that you just need to really just dig in deep. Those are my thoughts on the 3. Do I think one is better than the other? No, I don't. So, for instance, violin 1 on BBCSO strings, I'll probably still use that for lead sounds, for a melodic phrase, and layer that in. I do think that CS is going to be my go-to from now on, it's crazy to think, because it's been like a year and a half that I've been using the method that I use now, which is BBCSO laid with Spitfire Studio strings and using then the occasional sprinkling of solo stuff. Whereas actually I think now that CS is going to be my foundational stuff, and then Studio strings will come in sporadically as and when I need that extra push for dynamic layers, and then I'll just use the solo stuff on top of it. So it's reduced the amount of libraries that I need to, or at least the amount of layers that I need for now. Yeah, these are my overall thoughts. I've tried to keep these on a similar loudness because I'd already gone over to the Discord and they've already heard this, but those are my general thoughts anyway. That CS, fantastic update, and it was a great discount as well. There is a discount on at the moment for Cinestrings and Cine anything, I think. So go out, check that out, save yourself a bit of money if you're looking for something, get it now. And that's everything from me. So I'll see you later. Thank you very much.